The UFC 305 pre-fight press conference went down in the early hours of the morning. I was sound asleep, and here is the reaction video. I'm going to talk about the key moments from the press conference, the absolutely epic back and forth banter between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya, which led to some tears. Pretty much key moment focus, but I'll also mention a couple of the extra things that were said between some of the other fighters on the stage. But main focus is about this Adesanya-Dricus du Plessis beef that was all on the table during this press conference. So we're jumping right into things. Make sure you guys smash the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. Dricus was asked the first question. He was asked about needing to make the fight ugly versus Israel Adesanya and outclassing Izzy, right? Like which method would lead him to the most likelihood of success. Now he said, as the crowd booed, crowd favorite, I can make them make noise, talking about he makes them boo, he makes them scream, he makes them roar. Either way, he's getting a reaction. And he's pretty much the villain in this fight in Australia. Now, he says he can make it ugly or pretty. Either way, he sees himself getting a win. Personally, I lean towards the side of an ugly DDP fight is more than likely the best outcome for this matchup against Adesanya, who's more of a technician. Now, DDP was then asked, why does he not like Israel Adesanya? He says, I don't know him personally, but he doesn't like how he made this fight about the racial undertones or about the, African residing champion, the real African champ and whatnot. He doesn't like the way that Adesanya twisted that. Now, also, as he's talking about all this, crowd starts booing, and DDP roasted the crowd. He's the king of the roast, man. He roasted Adesanya a lot, and he really brought some flame to the damn Australians. He shouted out the South African rugby team, who I guess whooped Australia last week and is playing them again, I think, later today or tomorrow. So, yeah, pretty cool moment for DDP. He's good on the mic. DDP is confident and really smooth, man. Then a question goes out to Israel Adesanya, and this is the reporter, I believe, from the Mac Life. Normally, I'm a big fan, but him and Izzy are buddies, and the reporter starts making loads of excuses for Adesanya about the Sean Strickland fight. Now the narrative is put out. Izzy was injured heading into that fight. Izzy didn't train hard for that fight. He had a subpar camp. Sean Strickland took that fight in a suboptimal circumstance. Are we forgetting about that? Absolutely glazing Adesanya. Your body was banged up leading to the Strickland fight, but you were happy to fight in front of the crowd in Australia. How do you feel now having the time to recover and step in and take on DDP in a much more fair circumstance? Because yes, you were hurt going into that Strickland fight, and that's why you looked like that. No, let's not give Sean Strickland any respect. That's what the media is doing here. The lack of respect for Sean Strickland's championship win is a damn disgrace. He beat Israel Adesanya. I don't care about this narrative now being pushed that, oh, Izzy wasn't at 100%. Was Strickland, who took the fight on a relatively short notice? He was in great shape. He was not in as good a shape against Izzy as Strickland was against DDP. How about that? Izzy said that, he's happy to hear the crowd. They start cheering. He's cheesing. He says, I'm happy to be healed. Yeah, he's happy to be healed, and he's happy to be back. Good. I'm glad he's healed and happy to be back. The disrespect on Sean Strickland, I'm not standing for, and neither should you. The reporter glazes Izzy right away. Izzy, you do so much media. You do so much for us, more than any other fighter. Just absolute love show between the two of them. Izzy was then asked about Dricus making it an ugly fight. And then he mentioned Paulo Costa, and he said that, Izzy can get muddy with the pigs, but he can also keep it pretty. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I do think that in a dirty fight, in a scrappy, sloppier fight, that all the way favors Dricus du Plessis. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. I don't think anybody does. But damn, the media glaze of Adesanya is unreal. The Sean Strickland fight, fluke. You weren't in shape. Sean Strickland's not a real champ. Yada do. No respect for Sean Strickland. Now, DDP was then asked about how he said he needs a perfect fight to win this one. And essentially what he alluded to was he's been perfect in all of his UFC fights. I think that it was taken slightly out of context. Like him saying he needs a perfect fight doesn't mean he can't get punched in the face, or doesn't mean he can't get kicked in the legs, doesn't mean Adesanya can't have any moments. But he said essentially that he has had all perfect fights. He's won all of his UFC fights. He just needs to be perfect enough to win. I think that's what he really means. And he's unbeaten in the UFC. And he said he also had perfect preparation leading up to this fight. Now, Izzy was then asked about DDP saying that he needs to be perfect. Adesanya said he takes it as respect, and he said it's hard to be perfect against me, which is a true statement by Adesanya. Yes, you can't be perfect against Izzy for the most part. Sean Strickland was pretty close to it, but normally, like against Adesanya, he's going to have a couple moments. Now, then DDP was asked a fun question. This is where things get funny as hell. He was asked about Izzy posting the side-by-side of both of them at a weigh-in and their bulges showing in both. And essentially, Adesanya was alluding to Dricus du Plessis having a small dick and balls. Now, DDP actually dropped a really funny joke. He was saying that he was a teenager in that pic, and he's assuming that showed up on Adesanya's For You page, because he said if you're searching for naked teen boys, then somebody needs to check that shit out. Cold bar, bro. Even Izzy, he didn't know what to say. He like goes to say something for a second, then he just laughs it off. And then he comes back with a chime. He said, it must have been cold that morning. Don't worry about it. DDP brings fire. He says, the authorities should be worried about it, not me. Oh, I love DDP. DDP on the mic is God tier. DDP on the mic is special because he talks in such a calm tone too. Like, these guys don't know how to deal with it. A guy that's that fucking confident that he doesn't need to yell, scream. You don't hear any emotion out of his voice. It's just stoic, savage, and calm. DDP's a bad motherfucker. Now, DDP then said that he is looking for a finish against Adesanya, and Izzy says that he wants to show how great he is. So both guys, I think, are looking to bring, a violent fight. We've, seen matches before, but with both of them, really, that haven't been all that great. But I think that this one here, there's a lot in it, and I think a lot on the line. I think both of them are going to bring their absolute best. Izzy said, fuck the belt. I'm coming for your head. Said, I don't care about being champ again. I just want to beat Dricus du Plessis. And then they end up staring down. And Izzy did look away first. He cracked first. Mike Tyson says they give you a little look away and a stare down. That's a sign. And so far, du Plessis making Adesanya turn his head the other way. And he's already pissing him off with what he's saying. A lot of things are favoring DDP pre-fight. Then the talk started for Adesanya. I don't remember the exact question, but he said that he was embarrassed with his Sean Strickland performance, which I actually, for one, respect. Because it was an embarrassing performance. Especially now, everybody throwing the injury excuses out. Forget about all that. It was embarrassing, the fact that he fought in the way that he had, because he showed no third, fourth, or fifth gear. It was 1 and 2, and he cruised to a decision loss. So yes, he should be embarrassed, and I respect him saying that. Then a question went to Dricus du Plessis about the odds coming closer, and actually du Plessis said something pretty interesting. He said there's no place for odds in the octagon, but he says the odds makers know what they're seeing, and actually I think the people betting Dricus is why the line flipped, not so much the odds makers. They moved it because of money coming in certain directions, but that's besides the point. DDP says he is motivated to fight for greatness, whereas Izzy is motivated to fight against him, which I thought was interesting. Now, the underdog talk was in, like Izzy asked a question. He was like, so wait, when did I become an underdog? Because the, reporter, the questionnaire had mentioned the odds coming closer. I guess Adesanya assumed that he was an underdog. And then DDP jumps in with a really funny line, bro. He said, nobody said anything about dogs, bro. Chill out. That was good. That was good because if you remember leading into the Strickland fight, MMA Guru made the video series about Adesanya being really weird with his dog, and that's become a mainstream talking point at the UFC press conferences. And obviously DDP and MMA Guru have a cool little friendship together. So that's really dope. That was funny as fuck. I love that. Izzy stumbled on his words really bad. And he seemed like he was annoyed, and then he just said, fuck. He said, I'm going to get my coach's taser, and I'm going to tase his balls. I don't know. Izzy seemed really confused about betting odds, because he's like, wait, so how do I make money betting on myself if I'm not the underdog? yeah, I don't know. Maybe Adesanya doesn't know how odds work or anything like that. But he's placed some bets before. I don't know. That was really weird. Weird moment. Fine. Let's keep moving. All right. I want to keep it simply on our main event fighters. But at the end, I'll mention a couple things about other fighters on the card. Now, Izzy then was asked about an Africa tour, following this fight. And I guess he is going back to Nigeria following this fight. He's also going to tour South Africa. And he said that he is a child of Earth and he's going to take the belt everywhere with him. And guys, metaphorical drum roll, like feel it in your head. Dricus du Plessis destroyed Israel Adesanya in this moment. He said, "Are you taking the servants with you when you go back?" It was great. Amazing moment. Oh my God, du Plessis awesome. Adesanya has, kind of pushed the rumors under the table, but, there's, pretty accurate opinions, pretty accurate facts out there that he did have some, help around the house and grew up pretty financially well off. Now, at the end of the day, whether maybe Adesanya wants to deny it, he's definitely pushed back on it, and especially here, because he said, "What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about?" Alluding to that it wasn't true. There's no way that that's a possibility. I don't know. I've heard otherwise, but it was funny that Izzy didn't want to talk about that. He was pissed. DDP then mentioned how Israel Adesanya has framed him to be making this fight about culture, right? Because DDP has said that he is the first real African champion, and that has gotten under the skin of not just, even Adesanya, but other African fighters as well, because, I get the mindset, right? So when you are from certain parts of Africa, the life there is not really sustainable to live, right, for long periods of time if you are now contending for a UFC title and you have found, financial security, I guess is the best way to put it. Whereas in South Africa, where Dricus du Plessis is from, it is much more of a developed country. You could live in America right now. You could move to South Africa in certain parts, and it wouldn't be a significant decline in quality of life. But if you move to other parts of Africa, assuming where Israel Adesanya was born in Nigeria, it would probably be a very difficult shift. So I do kind of understand Adesanya's side saying like, hey, I'm still an African champion, even though I don't reside there anymore. My blood is from there. I am a native African. And I understand where he's coming from. Like, I'll talk my shit and whatnot, but I do have a little bit of an understanding of what he means. But whether Adesanya wants to admit it or not, whether Adesanya wants to accept it or not, it is a fact. It is a legitimate fact that Dricus du Plessis is the only residing African UFC champion. Trained, lived, breathed, everything Africa. So say what you want about him, and I obviously know because Dricus du Plessis is also, a white man, you will assume that the lineage comes from a different part of the world, and then the family immigrated at some point. I don't know when in the past. I don't have his ancestry chart up. So it's like, it becomes an emotional subject, right? It becomes a bit of a racial subject. It's an unfortunate racial divide that still actually exists in South Africa, right? With the apartheid at one point. And then even racism on both sides, though, now in the modern day in Africa. There's plenty of farmers that get killed there. It's a very, very volatile place. And there is an influx of racism that exists in South Africa, even against the whites, right? Like, people have a mentality where they only see it one-sided. But in South Africa, like, I've seen clips online of them, like, chanting racist things in, like, stadiums. Loads of people with the politicians there, like, yes, we hate the white farmers and whatnot. So very strange, not good. But yeah, it's weird how it's turned into this, right? It shouldn't be about the color of your skin in any context because, we're all human. It shouldn't make a difference in 2024, but obviously some people disagree with that. Now, to get back to it, Izzy is heated after Dricus du Plessis said that, Adesanya made this about the culture. Izzy is pissed. He tells DDP to shut the fuck up. And he said that DDP has no idea who the fuck he is. You don't know my story. DDP, again, killer. Looks at him. He says, I don't care about your story. He doesn't care. And I swear that the way he says these things is like the perfect counter trash talk that just gets Adesanya so angry. Adesanya is emotional. Really emotional. Now he goes on a rant. He says, I was waking up at 4 a.m. with my father cleaning the bank as my mother studied to be a nurse. Izzy is upset. I have not seen Israel Adesanya this upset ever. He's been mad before. He's been angry, but he's fucking upset. DDP then mentions Izzy saying that he made the fight about something else. And like Izzy essentially what I'm trying to say. I wrote this down a little bit weird, but DDP is saying, I didn't make the fight about race. That wasn't my intent. I was just saying I'm the first residing African champ. But Adesanya is alluding to the fact that no, DDP, you did make it about race and you don't respect the people of the land. That's what he said. He mentioned DDP even in Australia, watching Israel Adesanya and staring him down as Izzy did the traditional Australian native dance when he arrived there. And obviously, there was people upset about it saying, oh, DDP's a colonizer, this, and that. He doesn't respect cultures, yada do. Yeah, it gets murky in the water, man. But I don't think DDP is hating on Izzy intentionally because of any racial undertones. I just don't believe that. I think he just wants to kick his ass and they don't get along. Now, DDP, again, reiterates it, saying, I am the first residing African champion. And Izzy says, you sound like a pig. I'll slay you. He also called him a pink fit. If you don't know what a pink fit is, it essentially is just a different term for pussy or vagina. So I thought that was really funny. DDP then says, you can't change facts. And what the fuck happens now? Israel Adesanya is crying. Israel Adesanya is dropping tears. Oh my God. Dricus du Plessis has made 2 straight opponents cry leading up to the fights. He made Strickland cry and he makes Adesanya cry. How the fuck is Dricus du Plessis that much of a Chad that he's making fighters who are scheduled to take him on that are championship caliber cry? I don't even understand how this is possible. Seeing that was just mind-boggling. Oh my gosh. Then Izzy has asked another question about manifesting this fight. And, if it's looking similar to how he manifested it. The reporter was talking about in the past, is he talking about how he wanted this fight and how things would go down and manifesting, trying to formulate the fight and the fight week into the way that he would want. Izzy gets very emotional. He starts crying again. And as he's talking, he's saying, I do this for my family, which I can respect. The tears are flowing, though. He says, I can cry and whoop your ass at the same time. Good line from him. And he said he really feels the love from the crowd. And then Izzy said the first time I was fighting in Australia, the dream became a reality. And now he's going to kill DDP's dream. He said, I'm going to kill your dream, bitch. He slams the microphone down. He's upset. He storms off the stage crying. Heartbroken, I don't know, traumatized, really irritated. And what does DDP do? He doesn't even grab the mic. He just looks over at Adesanya. I don't know what he said. He whispered something to him as Izzy then storms off. DDP 10-8, bro. DDP 10-7. I respect Adesanya as a fighter. And listen, I'm glad you're doing it for your family. But crying on that fucking stage, man, I just don't think it's a good look. If you're talking about the face of masculinity, okay, the face of manhood is Dricus du Plessis. Stoic, confident, always has something to say back, but never is emotional about it. Dricus du Plessis is a fucking savage, man. They faced off as well, and it was intense, staring into each other's soul. Adesanya is saying some things that I can't really understand. Even during the press conference, I think he said some terminology that was like terms from maybe Africa. I don't know what he said. I don't know. He seemed emotional as he said it. But DDP definitely a 10-8 as they faced off. Again, you could see like Adesanya's mad. He's saying some things, whereas DDP's just staring into his soul. It looked beautiful. It was absolutely amazing. 10 out of 10 for Dricus du Plessis. And out of all the press conferences this year, I had to make a video, especially for this one, because it was my favorite. It was my fucking favorite because DDP and Izzy got into it constantly, and I thought it was fucking dope. Oh my God, it was good. Now, yes, I scored a 10-8 or 10-7 DDP. We still have to do the fight, but I definitely think emotionally, DDP has the upper hand. Adesanya is upset. This fight is very personal to him, whereas DDP seems to see this as an opportunity at greatness, but not just Adesanya as the opponent. He even said that himself. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. They could switch him out. I'll have the same determination, which I respect. Now, some other things at the press conference that were said outside of the main event. Dan Hooker had a ton of hype from the crowd, and he says he's got a little surprise for Gamrot. The crowd was going absolutely nuts for Dan Hooker, and honestly, as a fan, even though I'm calling Gamrot as a fairly confident pick, I'm praying Dan Hooker knocks him out. I'd rather lose on that call because I love Dan Hooker. He's got the style. He's got the personality. Come on. Gamrot's funny with his accent. We will cry Sunday. I will make you all cry on Sunday. Gamrot's funny as shit, man. He doesn't say anything really deep. He mostly just says random one-liners. I will make you all cry Sunday. He also said another weird one-liner. I can't even remember what the hell he said. I didn't write it down or anything like that. But he seems like he's coming to win. He's coming to take home a dub. All right, Gamrot, good shit. But Dan Hooker was the fan favorite. And then a little bit of talk between Erceg and Cara France, but nothing disrespectful. Really, Cara France was asked, how do you feel? You're a city kickboxing guy, and you're not the crowd favorite because the Australian Steve Erceg is fighting against you. And it seems like, Cara France, I'm all right with it. I'm ready to go. It's going to be a great fight. He still feels the love from the crowd. Erceg definitely developing the cult following. Shout out to Steve Erceg. I'm a big fan, and I'm hyped as hell for that fight. And then Tuivasa and Rozenstruik, not really anything crazy was said, but they both agree that they're going to stand and strike, because there was a question asked to Rozenstruik about a takedown. And, Rozenstruik, oh, well, it is MMA. You hear in the background, Ty says, fuck no. I love Ty, bro. Ty Tuivasa, I hope he wins too. Overall, really fun press conference, and I think this was a pretty banger press conference reaction. Definitely let me know what you thought of the press conference in the comments. Definitely let me know what you think of the press conference reaction videos. I always love hearing feedback. I got much love for you guys. Make sure you all smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, it's your first time here, subscribe. I got daily content on it, plenty coming out. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching. UFC 305 going down Saturday. I'll be live for the whole thing. Don't miss the Fight Companion. Much love, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.